It's a beautiful May morning. Welcome. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah.
What's
Nice,
going
nice
on?
day for a chat. All
Yeah.
kinds of stuff too.
Let's chat about the hottest, latest news in the governance
Oh,
space.
there's lots. And welcome
Yes.
everyone to this is episode 29. So this is the series. It's a monthly webcast focused on the rapidly evolving and expanding Microsoft 365 governance story. And we're dedicated to anything and everything governance related within Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So if you have questions or comments or thoughts on what we should cover or guests, if you'd like to be a guest, reach out and connect with one of us, all of us, usually through LinkedIn. That's where you can find us active. And we'd love to have you on the show, or at the very least comment. So, but for this 29th episode, the three of us, we're going through, we had a couple of guest ideas for this month, but we started building a laundry list of items, of topics that we didn't necessarily have a guest for some of them. And we realized, we just kind of need to go through this laundry list of governance topics and concerns and just chat it up. So that's what we're going to do. What's top of mind? What's standing out? Who wants to start?
Ragnar, I know you were dying to get into it.
Oh, yeah. So I was delivering 3 Agent 365 customer workshops this week in Spanish, which was very challenging for me because I've never given Spanish agent.
How did that go? Did you use translation services or anything, or did you just wing it? Did it work?
It worked perfectly, absolutely. So I had to get used to a little bit of wording because I didn't know what sensitivity labels and all this stuff, how they're called in Spanish. But I figured it out. It was fun. Cool. Wonderful customers. I really enjoyed it. So I was really
this episode sponsored by Duolingo.
My comfort zone, definitely. Yeah.
Sorry, making a joke. So what were some of the governance concerns with talking about Agent 365? So I'm always excited to hear when you go in and do a workshop like that. Like I'm getting ready tomorrow, full day workshop that I'm leading. I'm excited to hear the questions. Like I'm ready, I'm prepared, but what are they going to ask? What are we going to go deep dive into based on their customer scenarios? So what did you hear about Agent 365? What were the concerns?
Yeah. So on the one hand, they really appreciate the inventory, that they can see all the agents coming from Microsoft, third-party vendors, their own agents. So this whole inventory classification, what is the current status? Where are they published in which channel? So this kind of overview really resonates with what they need because they are fully aware that the agents are coming from different creators and different publishing channels. So that's what they need, where they're currently completely not with their minds is everything around the special settings like agent templates, agent control mechanisms, agent rule management. So that's something where they're currently far away. And that's actually my job to lead them into these topics like agent settings and agents rules. So that's something which is for them new. And also the topic around shadow AI, because I was having a long conversation, what is your shadow AI? Do you already have users who are building agents based on shadow AI, like OpenClaw, like Cortex, like Amazon Bedrock, and all these other platforms? But currently there is no need, but they want to be future prepared. And that's the reason why they are caring about Agent 365, because it can definitely observe shadow AI agents. Technically, you only can block these kind of agents. So just observing, okay, they are there, they are existing, and then they can block them or don't block them.
Yeah.
So not a lot of governance things, just block on, don't block.
Yeah, and hopefully, I mean, this is a lesson that I hope organizations has learned. You don't want to be that, the IT department, the department of no, of just shutting those things down.
Exactly.
Rather, you would go and you sieve them as they go and have conversations. Like, what are you trying to do? What does this tool do? What is the solution? But is there a safer way, another way that we could build this so that it's compliant, that we're able to manage that or not? And then take actions, but have those conversations.
And what I've also seen, maybe I can just share my screen here, is we have a few shadow IT news. I'm going to share now immediately what I have learned this, actually today, because last week in my workshop, I haven't seen it. So now you should be able to see my screen. And what I've seen now here in Agent365 is on the Shadow AI. Last week, we only had OpenClaw. Currently, my OpenClaws are not visible because they're running on a virtual server. So yes, I'm using, of course, OpenClaw in Hermes, but not on a managed environment, which is recommended. So I'm using it on an isolated sandbox running in the cloud. So they could not find my OpenClaws. If the OpenClaw would be found, then it's only possible just to block them. So just really find it using Intune and on managed devices. And the only thing what you can do technically is just block them. And it's currently happening for OpenClaw. What I've seen today is here that we have some news around coming soon. So OpenClaw is the first Shadow AI agent, and then Claude Code CLI, Codex CLI from OpenAI, Cursor, or Llama, and Poe. I have never heard of Poe, but the other ones are well known. So these are the next candidates which are coming into the Shadow AI part of Agent365, where they can be blocked or just observed.
You know, which makes so much sense with Microsoft supporting the multi-model in world. They need to add a lot more to this list. I mean, I also saw that it now Copilot supports Grok as well. And I don't know, have you played with that at all?
I have an X subscription, so I'm a premium X user. So Grok I use it every time. So especially when I know that there's excellent content on X, I'm always using Grok. It's just amazing.
I know there's a lot of fans of Grok that are over on that platform, but I mean, honestly, in fact, I just was having this conversation this morning. Somebody was responding to an article that I wrote. David Broussard, good friend of the show, and and we were kind of chatting and responding, and yeah, for me, I mean, Copilot for all the work stuff, and I've got a work laptop and my home system, and I use Copilot on both of those. But in personal, I use Claude Cowork, and Claude Code, and Grok probably more for personal stuff than anything else.
Exactly. And I had a very, very good conversation with Mike Gennady or Gennady from Microsoft, and here he was just explaining that he's now running OpenClaw on his little mini PCs just to reduce costs. So he is subscribed to an X Premium or Premium Plus, where he has got access to Super Grok, and he's now running his little farm of 7 or 10 agents using Super Grok from X. Yeah, and I've recorded a video with him, so just find it on my YouTube channel or at ragnarheil.de, where I was talking with Mike Gennady about how he's using Hermes and OpenClaw with this agent factory and agent family. And we were also spoiling a little bit what's going to happen on the Build conference, because Peter Steinberger from OpenClaw will be on stage, and he's going to share some integrations with OpenClaw and Microsoft Teams and Copilot. Hashtag ClawPilot, hashtag Project Lobster.
Yeah, I need to
that's
go.
That's going to be exciting.
I know that I wasn't able to participate in the, for those that the three of us are MVPs, so we have access to NDA data, like what Microsoft is doing. There was a know before you go for Build. I was on client calls. And so, yeah, just be careful what you talk about. But yeah, it's always cool to be able to see that.
It's not secret. So Peter Steinberger is on the agenda. So please go to build.microsoft.com. It will be on the 2nd to the 3rd June, available online for free. But you can also travel to San Francisco, but then you have to pay for a ticket. And then, there will be the announcement of OpenClaw integration with M365 Copilot. Not only Teams, because the Teams integration is already working. You need to go to X, of course, and then there is a special group which is called the OpenClaw for Microsoft group. And then a guy called Brad Grooks is writing about his Teams integration. But by the way, if you go for Hermes and for OpenClaw in the latest version, then Teams is an official client for OpenClaw and for Hermes. And that's just great because in the past I was using only Telegram, but now Teams is also supported.
That's great.
Yeah.
So great story here. But let's go back here to our topics of Agent365. I want to show you that since I think 10 days or 1 week, we also have now a new registry sync, which is going to enrich the inventory experience. Because in the past you just had you only could see the inventory from agents which are coming from Entra, but not all agents are coming from Entra, and now you've got the opportunity to select agents coming from Amazon Bedrock, Google Vertex AI, or Databricks Genie, or Salesforce Agentforce. And that's something what I haven't seen last week. So last week there was just Bedrock and Vertex, and this week they have added Databricks and Salesforce to their registry sync, where you can loop in agents from other environments and other platforms. So it's the same story like with other tools like like Sentinel, where they're just integrating their competitor stuff.
Hey, Ragnar, before you forget to please drop that you mentioned that video that you did with Gennady. If you could drop that into the chat, and I'll make sure that provide that as a link into our notes.
It is really I think it's one of the best videos I've ever recorded because it's so visionary. So I don't want to spoiler here, but it's just awesome. He talks how his agents are doing nightly conversations. So between 1 o'clock, one agent is waking up and doing a research about 4 hours about psychology of consciousness. Then in the morning, they're meeting in a virtual agent conference, and they decide if the researchers are so interesting to write automatically a blog post about it. So when Mike wakes up in the morning, let's say 7 o'clock, then he can already see what the agents have talked about, like blogging about it or don't or whatever, but they're having a nightly conversation about these researchers, which is happening every single night. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. I enjoyed it so much. So for me, Mike is definitely one of the most visionary person on this planet when talking about multi-agent orchestration with this little virtual company called SMF Works, which is about his Smith forking. How do you call it? Smith forking? When you make knives?
Forging.
Forging,
So
forging.
It's for those that don't know who we're talking about. Gennady, he is a longtime Microsoft guy. So he used to do. I used to love when I started following him with his, how do you call it, podcast, webcast, whatever, where he was driving.
Mike on the Run. He tried in 2010.
Right. So it was like way back in the day in the SharePoint stuff. And he was out in the field for Microsoft. So started going to do that. He's also, for those that go way back or old school, OG SharePoint people, he was the SharePoint samurai.
Exactly.
So he has the full gear. I think he lived in Japan for a while. And so has like all of that, but had that kind of the personality profile out there, would show up at conferences in the full samurai garb. But anyway, he experiments with things, and if you follow him over on Instagram, also has all of the forging and creates knives and swords and other things. So,
and what I really love about him is he also writes a lot about failures. Sometimes he writes about how he's burning too much tokens, and then he has to find a new approach to manage his agents without burning more than 100K, without burning $100 a month, and so on. So he's always writing about the progresses, but also about the failures. And there are always failures financially when they're smoking too much tokens or latency issues or whatever. And that's something what I really appreciate, not to talk about always the press conferences and the press releases, but also talk about the ugly stuff when you're building agents.
I wanted to throw something. I wanted to throw something in there. No, he would be fantastic on the show. Yeah, we need to
100%.
I know.
Okay.
I just wanted to very quickly. Just you made me think of this, and I pulled it up. But I had blogged earlier in the month. So going back through, I know both of you will appreciate this. As we're talking about, you're getting ready to talk about, human in the loop and kind of what's happening in the space and how it's evolving. We're going to get into some of the broader, discussions. I was back looking through. So I had something in mind that was specifically. I was going back through my OneNote archives, And there's a whole other conversation where I don't know if either of you do this, but I have a folder set up in OneNote called Archive. And so when I publish something or I move past it, I've used that content where I create it. I never delete. I archive it. So when I go and I'm searching for something, I pulled up my notes from a Gartner event in 2013. Okay. And I was reading through, it's like, what was I doing in May of 2013 or April of 2013? And just glanced through, I'm like, wow, I had been thinking about it. So I wrote this blog post and kind of put it together. So did some more searching, pulled from notes from 4 or 5 different sessions that I went to there. But it's interesting to put in parallel what happened with the move towards the cloud and what's happening now with AI. And in some respects, from a governance standpoint, we're much smarter. Organizations are much smarter. They're recognizing, hey, we need to clean up our content. We need to do these other things. Whether they're doing it or not, that's another discussion. But the level of awareness, people can see the parallels between move to the cloud, move to AI, and the need to go in and do some foundational cleanup work and stuff around it. And so I wrote a little bit about this. Gets more into the Microsoft versus Google and their pieces, but how one piece that is worth, if you've not read this yet, Ragnar, I would really recommend you take a look.
Yes.
If you disagree, the risks to Microsoft strategy. So something you said triggered me on this. So I went in and I talked about, and you can read here. I'm not going to read it for all of it, but the strongest argument against Microsoft's position and what they're doing with the multi-model, that side is that, while Microsoft owns the enterprise, Google still largely owns the developer space, and the way that the agentic computing goes could determine whether Microsoft's enterprise play flies or not long term. It's so anyway, I'd love to, I'll provide the link, but have you take a look at that it's not a guaranteed. They're definitely Microsoft. I think this is the statement here. The risk is real, but the data still favors the platform built around it. So having the rest of the platform, having the multi-model structure, being able to go and support, like right now, that's what organizations want to do. It's just they need the tools to be able to manage it adequately. And that's where I think this is a rapidly evolving space. It'll be interesting just to see what happens in the next year and a half that could change this.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation because Microsoft has always, like you said, they own the enterprise because they were the ones that got there first, and organizations started building their productivity and their workflows, whether we're talking about, what was it before it was Word, right? The original Office suites and all.
I was a PageMaker guy, so I don't know what was that. What was it? What was the name?
There was a thing.
I still miss PageMaker, but that's a different discussion.
But we used to make snotty little jokes from time to time about because Apple wants to be there, but they don't have the enterprise applications. Beautiful hardware, right? They make wonderful products. But again, Microsoft owns the enterprise. So same to the cloud, right? Amazon did a lot of cloud first stuff. Microsoft was already in the enterprise. AI is going to are we going to say, are they going to democratize that a little bit more? Is that the right word? It's going to be interesting because I don't think the content's,
I think that's the danger.
The content's not going to move, but what comes in and has access to that content, the way I'm reading it.
Yeah.
But I mean, who's going to be in charge of the AI as we start to go forward? I think this is the part of the conversation I'm the most keen to have. Is, we're seeing all
the last conversations, we talked a lot about end user readiness and trainings. People need to adopt and so on. But now I see since a few weeks, 2 weeks, a new change that there are so many license changes happening since May 1st that a lot of companies are giving also pushback to Microsoft because they think, listen, so many changes came on May 1st. There will be more changes on the Power Platform, premium pricing on the 20th of June. Yeah, and everything's getting more and more expensive. And I think it makes sense to spend another 5 minutes or 10 minutes to talk about the licensing of Agent 365, which is not very transparent. It's not very easy, but we can try if we can make it easy.
I was explaining this to a client last year about, I said, you have to realize that we don't fully understand yet what the true costs of all these tools are. Microsoft doesn't. I mean, it's why one of the reasons why you saw there's this idea that there's this grand conspiracy that all of the providers were charging $30 a user a month for it, and I suspect they're still losing money at that level, and we've certainly seen that now with the data center build out and kind of all the other infrastructure pieces that need to happen, that we still don't fully understand the cost of this technology if it's fully deployed.
And we're making, our assumptions have been made that you can replace a human to do these tasks. Okay, easy. This task can be very easily automated, but can that same automation that we've replaced the human for and are paying this licensing cost, which on the surface, the licensing cost is a cost savings. How do we remediate the hallucination? How do we make sure that there's intuition, that there's that old tribal knowledge that we've talked about in the SharePoint world for decades now, right? There's a lot more to it than pull the person out, put the AI in, and run a repeating task.
Yeah. I think there's a part of that conversation. I've written about it. I've seen some articles pop up too. This idea, again, going back to kind of jobs, that we're seeing a limited path for junior technologists. And everybody wants the senior person for that human in the loop that has that experience, that has that judgment, but then automate a lot of things lower down. But if you're getting rid of these entry-level roles and automating those away, what you're doing is you're handicapping your future by then not developing and having senior people to fill in those gaps. So if you are unwise and just replacing across the board, that it's going to hurt you in the long term by not having experienced people. And that's a real thing. So is that something, Ragnar, again, that in having done those workshops around Agent 365, these are organizations that need that observability into what's actually happening in their environments because they're moving forward. Are they talking at all about what's happening and how it's impacting the humans in the organization?
Yes. So I think one of the topics which always come to the table are the different types of agents, like retrieval knowledge agents, semi-autonomous agents, and autonomous agents. And currently, none of my customers really want autonomous agents because they're missing the human in the loop. That's the reason why they don't want that the makers are going to develop autonomous agents. There are a lot of fears that they are too powerful. Let's say the MCP commands could edit, delete, archive stuff, what they don't want. So there are many concerns about cost topics, compliance topics, security topics, having agents to be too powerful and completely out of control. So I think what we see, and we just discussed it 10 minutes ago with this powerful OpenClaw and Hermes agents, the customers really don't want this kind of autonomy, but they want the human in the loop. So that's for sure.
Right. Yeah, we have an AI empathy.
And that's attention currently.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joy, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean, again, that intercontinental lag, I think, got me. I was just saying, from that human perspective, empathy, intuition, gut instincts, and all those things still are so very important. I think they always will be. Maybe I'm just a little old-fashioned, but it's been interesting.
And the most interesting for me is that currently nobody talks that we need human in the loop on many different levels. So we need human in the loop who is controlling that old content is going to be somehow deleted, removed, and then we need human in the loop, in the quality gate of the publishing process. So if you want to move an agent from development to staging to production, you need in Power Platform pipelines. But these pipelines, you need also the human in the loop who is controlling when should I move an agent to production and when I should decline it and say, listen, we don't want this agent, or you need to work on this agent harder to get it published. So that's also a human in the loop topic.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the most important one, in the workflow, when somebody who's using the agent doesn't want more answers, they want a human in the loop.
A decision
Right.
As a kind of escalation. So listen, I don't want to talk to this agent anymore. Please let me talk to a human. So I see humans in the loop like everywhere now.
Yeah. No, there's I can't help but having some experience in the manufacturing, technology sector. And we were talking before the show, before we started, about working with a client that's in that kind of the industrial space. And it just is bringing back meeting with one of their clients and going on site last week to their facility, which brought back, I think you both knew this, like my first major in college I did for 3 years was industrial design, the product design side of it. So I've always been fascinated to see like water pumps and diffusers and other stuff like being manufactured in clean rooms, being built entirely in the warehouse. I mean, really cool stuff. I'm like, get to work with metal and plastics and stuff. The only thing that's missing there was a wood shop. I needed the wood shop extension, but seeing all of that and understanding that, having gone over to manufacturing facilities over in Asia Pacific, for example, in 3 different countries, being able to see that live in action, you cannot, no matter how automated they are, humans are still there at key parts. Plus, because the reality is that you don't go and set the machines to work. Let's say, even if your machines, your automations never broke down and they just ran perfectly forever, the business needs change, the requirements change, the political atmosphere, the rest of the things that change around that, which then require tuning. You're never going to fully replace humans for any of these things, because they're constantly changing. And it just again, seeing the parallels between this, how it fits here with people. I'm not doom and gloom thinking, hey, all these jobs are just going away 100%. I think that the humans that are there that understand how to use them will have a greater understanding of where they need to be and remain in the loop.
I think it
just
has to
imagine
be
this customer workshop which I gave this week. It was all about Power Platform governance to be ready for the agents, and we've created like 100 different test cases to test the Power Platform and to test the configuration. Because in this workshop we talked about their requirements, and we talked about configuration, and then we talked about recommendations, what to configure with priorities, and then at the end we had like test cases, and it was like 100 test cases only for Power Platform, which is completely insane. But you should never, ever ignore the amount of effort it needs to test things like agents, but also the infrastructure like Power Platform environments.
100%. I think, and I've complained about this before, I'm going to complain about it again. We keep talking about being more productive, more productive, more productive. It's the wrong word, because I think that's what drives us to go lay off humans for customer service and just use AI, right? It's not productivity, it's effectiveness that needs to shift. So we redefine how humans work with AI, not a replacement, but a new definition of that. And I think that's going to end up opening up a whole area for us as guardians of M365 governance, because there's going to be new governance rules that need to come into play of how do we redefine the way we work to be more effective, which I think if we do it right, we don't grind our people to dust expecting greater productivity. We actually become more human because we've learned how to work with our AI counterparts to become more effective. And that might actually free up some time for us to go do the more human things.
Something that you said there, Joy, I really like that. You're right that there's all this talk about productivity. And again, there's, a lot of online rants against that. It's like, stop telling me that I could be more productive.
Stop grinding me to dust. I'm exhausted.
Right. And so I think that there's new language that needs to be, thoughtfully replacing that productivity talk about how we coincide with this technology, because this has evolved, it's changed it. I think that language needs to change as well.
Yeah. Let me take my example from this Power Platform Governance workshop. I've created a very, very incredible detailed documentation, 47 pages, written by Opus 4.7. So it's not a secret. I'm telling you, it's written by Opus 4.7, but I needed to correct it so many times that it's going to be really, really correct and excellent. And I was burning like my tokens for 5 days, or I was working on this document for 5 days because it was burning so much opposite tokens. And then the other effort, which I need to do, is really communicate it with the customer and then also test it, test what is written inside of this PDF or Word document. This also needs time. So I saved a lot of time because I did not have to write the document. I just had to run the workshops and gather the requirements and the customer needs. The document was written by AI, but I need to test every single thing, and that's going to be time. Yeah, that's going to be a huge effort.
Yeah.
So yes, it saves time, but
you still have to figure out. It saves time, but you have to. It's how you approach it.
Right.
Like it will go in. I've done the right. In fact, I've taught a class a dozen times on AI assisted writing. I enjoy going and doing that. It's fun to go in there on a purely creative. But when you're writing something that needs to be accurate, that's technical, that you incorporate the things in there. Where I find that it works the best for me, like I'll have an abstract, an idea that I will go and put together, and I have dozens, and that's probably at the low end of just in OneNote of ideas for topics that I was reading something and I put in. Interesting, if there's an article, there's 2 sentences, this was what it would be, we cover, and then 3 or 4 bullet points around that. I will go in and expand on that idea, and I will do what I call stream of consciousness writing. Don't self-edit, just get the ideas out there bulleted. I was thinking
Brain
this
dump.
I should also write a comparison to this, look up this story here. I remember this, I could relate it to here. And so I put together this, what could feel like in a Word doc, like a 1 full page. Then I will throw that at Claude or Grok or whomever and whatever. I'll just assign humanity to it. Whatever their names. Just won't mention the name of the device on the thing behind me. I'm waiting for that to get smarter and to do some of that. But I will do that and then look at that first iteration. What I found, and probably you've experimented too with your testing and retesting, is that it produces more garbage than good. And I have to do a lot more editing than I would have done. But it's still, from the time savings to make it more polished, and I'll go in and do my revision and be like, no, that didn't happen. Here's the story. Here's what I want to actually say. And then I will use it for final edit. So as an idea generator towards the beginning and a couple iterations on that, and an editor at the end, but it's still me writing 80-90% of that. It's fantastic, because I would spend writing an article that might take 5 hours to write if it was just me. I now reduce that down to an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Exactly.
And that's fantastic.
I'll come in from the end of a conference day or a long travel day, and I'll have a really good idea. And I just just start talking to it. Right. And I was like, I need to get all of this out of my head. We're gonna turn this into a blog at some point. Same thing, right? You just let the ideas flow. I think we can all identify with this statement. We're talkers. So to be able to process through speech is much more enabling that way.
I would argue, in fact, sorry, folks, this is kind of the way that I phrase things. I also wrote an article on this, so it's top of mind here, earlier this month on handwriting versus typing. So there's an
Oh, yes.
interesting study I saw on social media, which sent me down a rabbit hole reading and be like, yes, that's why I still notepads like all over the place, all handwritten notes. You know,
I have a remarkable, but I'm also doing handwriting there.
But right. So Remarkable's fantastic as well. So you have these devices out there. Yeah, in fact, that just came up in a call yesterday, an MVP call. No, but the idea of that, I will go and handwrite things because that forces you to think about the words. And again, you have to be careful not to self-edit. But then you're reorganizing things. I will often write things and draw arrows. Actually, that comes before this one, and I'll do some organization of content right there. Yeah, exactly.
Cognitive simulations. No, it really makes sense.
And how that applies into all of these pieces. That's why, again, I go back to conversation I had at a pub in Helsinki like 15 years ago, arguing that robots, my argument, will never take over the world. AI will never take over the world. It's just not reality, because the human mind is like while you can mimic some aspects of it,
sure,
like there's no way you can duplicate it. And I know this sounds like I'm going sideways, but like I've used this as an example, the fact that I'm able to bring up a whole history and conversations and topics around being triggered by a scent, a smell.
Yeah.
Like that brings back a flood of time, place, discussions, things that are around that. It's happened multiple times for me. Like we're not able to, and I don't believe we'll ever be able to replicate that level of complexity of the human brain.
Agree.
Yes, but you're talking about associations, and also agents can be triggered, and also can produce associations. Yeah.
I get it. It can mimic, it can do pattern record. There's a lot of things that it can do, and then it can go and even its original thought is not. It's an averaging. It's a morphing of different things that it didn't create but pulled together from that data that's not original. And it's not tied to a
I'm German, and we have a German philosopher called Hegel, and Hegel had a long conversations about master and slave, and it should be really clear, who is riding the horse and who is the horse, and we need to make sure that we understand that we need agents as our helpers and not the other way around.
Yes, yeah, I like that.
Think about the intuition that we have through, however you want to look at it, intelligent design, millions of years of evolution, combination of both, whatever. But like one of my favorite ways to annoy my husband is when he's trying to fall asleep, I just stare at him. Because when you're being stared at, right?
Yeah.
Can you replicate that kind of intuition into something like AI? Can it detect a threat the same way our intuition can? I don't know. Something's better. Something's 100% better. Like your car can know 3 cars up, somebody slammed on their brakes. Sure. But there are just some things that I don't think will ever be engineered. But it's going to be interesting to see.
We need to find this gap. What makes us so special and unique? So I think for me, let's make it simple. For me, it's an everyday journey when I wake up in the morning to find out what is my USP as a human being, as a human in the loop versus agents.
Yeah.
There's no answer. I think it's a daily new discovery.
Oh, I agree.
I think so.
I agree.
I know we need to wrap up here. I just shared a link into the chat too. Just got me thinking of I wish we could end with a different musical note, but for licensing purposes, could not use it. But Depeche Mode's Master and Servant.
Oh,
Quiet.
I love this song. Yeah.
There you go.
Sorry, something I just said just woke her up over there. The agent, the spy over there, trying to sell me stuff. But look, I know there's a lot. We could go down other rabbit holes around this topic, and hopefully for those watching, you found something interesting. Maybe some of the reading material, it's given you sparked some other ideas to go and have conversations internally. But yeah, I think this is like the discussion of the next at least 2-3 years, will be resetting that standard of what it means to be the human in the loop in an organization. It's not about productivity. It's about
effectiveness. And maybe I think we're gonna finally maybe in corporate life discover why the human matters as much as we do. Because the person in the chair matters.
You matter, people. We all matter. So, but hey, well, thanks everybody for joining. As always, we'll be back next month with another guest. We got a couple folks lined up, but great to see both of you, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks much.
Thanks
It was
so
wonderful.
much.
Bye.
Bye.